All right, guys, we had a real treat at the World Blitz Championship today when Sergey Karjakin and Magnus Carlsen got our favorite endgame on the board. Karjakin is playing the black pieces and has the queen, and Carlsen is playing the defense with the rook. He has the white pieces. Karjakin has just captured Carlsen's bishop on f3. Let's take a look at how they did. We have the wedge position on the board, and as you see in other videos, when you have the wedge position as the defender, you turn it into a lightning position. Now there's different ways to play this when you're in the corner like this, which makes their game a good one for us to look at anyway. What Karjakin does is play to corner the white pieces, and as you'll see, he does not succeed in doing that because it actually doesn't work so well. There's a trick you have to know. But the other thing you can do as the attacker in a position like this is instead play for a cage. So we're not just learning single moves, we're learning a library of positions that you can combine and use as a team. So you go there. We're keeping our queen in control of g2, planning to move our king forward to f3 and then over to g3, forming a cage. So the defender can stop that plan right there. Just stay on the diagonal. You're already on the long diagonal, can't be bad. And the defender goes something like that. Now your king can walk forward and go there. And you get it one check in, and now you're in a cage position. Well, when you're in a cage position, what's the best thing to do? You put your rook a knight's move away from your own king, and now the attacker, you can see it, that's the right thing to do, close up the rosette. This is a safe rosette to close up, and it leaves the defender with only the options of send the rook over to the left or send the rook up to the top of the board. If the rook goes over up to the top of the board, then now is when you are really happy you watched the javelin position videos, because that's the best way to end this game. We've got a check there, we go there. The queen is threatening mate on h1, and the only way to stop that is to go there, and now you go check there, you've picked up the rook. A rook in the corner is always a big target. It's easy to fork it. If instead the defender sends the rook skittering off that way, well, you can probably guess it's not long for the world, and indeed it's not. There it is. Okay, so remember this idea that when you're in the corner with something like a wedge or a lightning, one of your smart options is, instead of trying to keep the defender cornered, play for a cage. It's something that the defender cannot prevent for a very long time. If he moves his king over to e2 so as to keep your king from stepping forward, then you check from b2 and you turn it into an Irva position. But if he gives ground, then you go ahead and form the cage, close up that rosette, and he doesn't have any really good options on where to go from here. Okay, so Karjakin plays to keep Magnus cornered. Now, you will be shocked at how often this exact position comes up. It's an Irva position, and it should be an easy win, except the attacker is on the move. There is a right way to handle this, and we're going to get to it, but I'm going to leave it as a mystery for you right now. Instead, we have a check from there, and form the diamond. That's a good thing to do. If you can fork the rook, that probably can't be bad. Carlsen is actually right here. That's slightly better than king f2. It's like one move better. Okay, well, that just cannot be right, because you're walking into a check and you're letting him out of the corner. Now, the whole point was to keep him in the corner. And going back here just costs you 2 more moves. Okay. So Karjakin now does that, and you're letting him off the edge of the board. This just cannot be right. Okay, we all know that. Okay, it's a blitz game. Remember, they're playing fast, and given that, they're not playing too bad here. They're playing quite well for speed chess in the endgame. Now, this is a place where Magnus forms the rosette. That's not a bad thing to do. You have another option here. You can also Since you're just going to get walked over to the left in the rosette anyway, which is what Karjakin does, you may as well skitter your pieces over to the left and set up a difficult corner defense while you have the opposing king way over on g3. So for example, the king starts walking forward. Put your rook a knight's move away, usually very difficult, if not impossible, to fork. We get a check there, bring your king over. That's a reasonable thing to do. Now at this point, what you're hoping the attacker will do is that, because then you pick up a trade of pieces and it's a draw. But what you should do as the attacker is, when there's a discovered check that you can walk into, it's smart to walk into the discovered check and then follow the king whichever way it goes if it decides to move. Of course, the defender doesn't move the king. It's usually a good thing on defense to attack a piece with your rook if you can. Now, queen a2 check would definitely be bad because you're actually forcing him to move toward the center of the board. You're losing time. Instead, that would be a reasonable place to go, and we have a boomerang position, which I haven't done in a video because I'm not sure how to do it. I'm a little intimidated at trying to do it. So just to give you an example of how this can go, let's go ahead and set up the discovered check. He checks me here. I go there as a discovered check, close up the position, and form the rosette. Can't be bad. Now, how many attackers in this position are going to have the clarity of mind to remember this is the rosette where you fall back one square? Remember, there's 6 different rosettes. It's hard for an attacker to keep that straight late in the game. You can also get that, and that, and that. And here's that same position where I told you there's a right way to handle this. It's an Erva position with the attacker to move. And the right thing to do here is to put your queen in the corner. The reason is the king cannot move now, or the rook is immediately lost, and the king is blocking the rook up the board on the b file. The only alternative is for the rook to go away to h2. And when that happens, c3 is available for your queen to check, and now you can begin hunting down the rook, and it will not be hard to capture. So let's say he goes there, go there. You're holding on to the forking square e5. He can't walk up the board. Okay, now you're holding on to the forking square c7, and now b8. The rook is going to go lost next move. Okay, so remember that from here, from a position like this, you have the hidden option of skitter your pieces over to the board and set up one of the corner defenses on purpose. Normally, if you're in the center, don't run to the corner, but if you're already backed up on the edge of the board, you can be better off running over voluntarily and hopefully setting up a boomerang with the king on c2 and the rook on b3, which is especially difficult to know how to approach. Okay, Magnus goes ahead and reforms the rosette. Can't be bad. And now Karjakin comes up with the right way to go after it. And here's the next thing to remember. If you're in this rosette and you're getting walked toward the edge of the board, do yourself a favor and remember to play the stalemate trick. It's a lot harder to know how to handle this because look at what we have here. This is looking like a third rank defense, isn't it? Except it's not, because queen c5 doesn't cross the t from e1 to g3 because the rook's not on g3, it's on h3. It's actually on the wrong square, but that's a separate issue. By playing the stalemate trick, you now give the attacker a lot more trouble, a lot more things the attacker needs to know how to do. The attacker can play queen c2, which is where you want to be with a true third rank defense. And then the rook can either go down to h7 and play a harassment defense, or it can come into g3, and then you have the killing position of the third rank defense. Otherwise, the attacker may have to go for something like this. Okay, we've got the third rank defense on the board. And now notice, again, queen c5 does not cross the t between the king and his rook, because the rook is on the wrong color square. That will alert you that this is a third rank defense with the rook in the wrong place. Move over with your king. Now the rook has no safe square on the third rank. We go there and step back and grab a forking square. Notice that the rook can't go to e1, or the king can't go to e1 because there's an immediate fork. So he goes further into the box. Come in here, close up the rosette, can't be bad. Goes here, check there, close up the Irva position, and now it's an easy win. Okay, let's go back here. We're there. We've got that. Here's where you can deliver the stalemate trick. Instead, Magnus goes here, comes over, forms another rosette, gives the check here, and again he comes over staying on the third rank. If you're the attacker, you need to go king d4 instead of king d3. Otherwise, you permit this stalemate trick, which again gives you a lot of headaches after something like this happens. Now you have to break down what is essentially a third rank defense. Don't do that to yourself. Walk over by the fourth rank instead of the third rank. Okay, well, Magnus goes here, and we're sitting at home. We're not having a clock tick. We're not facing the person we just played a world title match. It's easy for us to say, you know, king c3 is just the Philidor position. So we can all enjoy a chuckle at the fact that Karjakin goes there, and now he forms the Philidor. Maybe it's easier going up the board, but we're in a Philidor position. This should now be an easy win. Carlsen plays the best of the lousy options you have in that position here. Now remember in the video on the Philidor position, if you play queen d5 check as your next move, it doesn't matter which of the four sensible squares the rook went to, you're going to bag it, because you just play checks on the long diagonal until you can give a check from a black square and take the rook. So we have a check there instead. It's got to walk back. We have a check there. I think he's trying to walk up the board all the way to b8. But that's not going to work because now the check on the a file, the rook just comes in and interposes. Okay, so we get a check there. We get a check there. We get a check there. Notice that Karjakin is having trouble finding the way to break this. I got to give Magnus Carlsen credit. In a dead lost position, he actually strung it out several moves. And there it is. Finally, now there's going to be a fork on b8. He resigns. So of all the things in this sample game that are worth remembering, the most important thing I want you to remember is this position. When you're the attacker and you have this Irva position, but it's you to move, remember to put your queen, not there, in the corner of the board. And now the rook has to go, in this case, up to g8, and then you check from f3, and then begin hunting down the rook. It won't take long. It's in a corner. Rooks in the corner are easy targets. I hope you saw this game and enjoyed seeing it as much as I did. Thanks.